Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Itch and Scratch Show, a podcast for seekers of personal growth, rediscovery, and the sweet symphony of mastering one's own potential. I'm your host, Shikha Singh. This isn't just a podcast. It's a sanctuary for those hungry to scratch beneath the surface and unleash the greatness that lies within. On this podcast, we will embark on the route of self-discovery where we peel back the layers, dust off the cobwebs, and reignite the flames of passion that may have flickered in the hustle and bustle of life. You know what? We are not here to merely exist. We are here to thrive. In this podcast, you will uncover the secrets to achieving a harmonious work-life balance and learn how to cultivate a mindset that propels you towards continuous growth. Now, our episodes are going to be a fusion of inspiration and reigniting that itch, providing you with the tools needed to thrive in both your personal and professional life. Are you ready to scratch that creative itch? Are you ready to reignite that spark? I am going to say yes. So let's get into our first episode. Hey everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Itch and Scratch Show. I'm your host, Shikha Singh. Today we dive into a topic that touches us all: self-deprecation. It's a silent killer that often lurks in the shadows of our minds. Have you ever caught yourself minimizing your achievements? Or, questioning your growth? Or just simply feeling stuck in this cycle of negative talk, especially negative self-talk? If yes, then this episode is for you. Now, this episode wouldn't just talk about the problem. We will discuss practical strategies to break free from the chains of self-deprecation. So let's just get into it. Self-deprecation is something that we've all encountered at some point in our lives. You know, those nagging thoughts that tell us that we're not good enough or that our achievements are not worth celebrating. That's self-deprecation. When I read the concept of self-deprecation, I thought to myself, this is exactly what I do. Now, I'm a person who tries a lot to not allow negative thoughts in my head. But when I read the examples of self-deprecating statements, I was shocked. So I dug deep into this topic and I was shocked to learn what I read. According to this article, self-deprecation or negative self-evaluation is a form of self-talk that reflects a cognitive state or personality dimension such as low self-esteem or negative self-regard. I was shocked when I read this. They go on to give us examples of self-deprecation, and they also give us examples of statements that are used as a form of communication that conveys self-deprecation. Here's one of them. At times I think I am no good at all. And the other one was, I wish I could have more respect for myself. And this is no big deal at all. The last one hit home. There have been innumerable times where I have found saying that exact statement, especially in my professional setup. I decided that I would no longer use such statements. The article went on to explain that these psychologists argued that any form of self-deprecation and the biggest thing that shocked me was that this tendency to self-deprecate is most likely associated with depression and anxiety. And It was another interesting thing, although I wouldn't focus more on this, is that a study done in 2017 by O'Malley reported that this is a trait that is used more by women than men. Another interesting thing that I read was this: self deprecatory statements can damage relationships, and overuse of such statements can leave the receiver feeling burdened to prop up the self deprecator. And you know why that is? Because of validation. So imagine the situation if a coworker of yours comes up to you and says, "Hey, you know what? You did a great job with the presentation." And you instantly say, "Oh, please, that wasn't a big deal at all." And then your coworker starts to say more good things about you to amp you up. So that way, that instance, you would have never thought that you are leaving your coworker with that feeling of this burden that they have to amp you up. They just wanted to congratulate you. I know, anybody could have done it. It's no big deal. "Oh, I'm such an idiot. Oh, I'm stupid." These are all examples of self-deprecatory statements. In order to appear humble, we often try to downplay our attributes, especially the positive ones. And we also insult ourselves. There was a whole section and a lot of articles about self-deprecatory humor, but I will not get into that. You know what? These studies also concluded that people tend to use self-deprecatory statements to appear more agreeable and more likable. I know, I was shocked too. Now, here are some signs compliments make you cringe. And so you just end up telling everybody that it's not a big deal. You believe you will sound arrogant if you self-promote. I have been in this situation multiple times. I published my first book in February 2021, the opportunity to meet people and to promote my book in person. So I had to use social media. I had to use whatever form of online channels that I had in order to promote my book. And to do that, I had to talk about myself multiple times. I had to talk about my book. I had to share snippets from my book even before it was released. And at some point, I thought, how am I coming off as? What would I appear as? I did not want to be this person who talks about their book always, or I did not want to be one of those who is always trying to market their own stuff. And I had no idea. That was the whole reason that I would come off as arrogant if I started self-promoting. But now I realize after reading so many articles on self-deprecation that I was wrong. The other sign is downplaying always. Downplaying is your second nature. I do this always. If I am assigned a certain project at my workplace, I will do anything to get that done within the deadline. And if my boss or my coworkers compliment me, I instantly downplay. The other day, I had this project that I was working on, and I had to compare two different applications and come up with a document that would list all the features in the previous one and compare it with all the new features in the new application. Not gonna lie, it was a tedious job. I have spent countless hours just trying to get screenshots, trying to get everything documented. And once it was done, my coworkers gave me a shout out. And the first thing that I said, instead of thank you, I said, "Oh, please, you could do it too." The next sign and the last one is you seek validation and reassurance. Oh my God. I think all of us in today's day and age of social media can agree to this. We always seek validation, which is why we are obsessed with likes, comments, subscribers, any comment, anything that will boost our confidence, and validate everything that we did. This could be a whole other episode in itself, but this again ties to self deprecation. When you use those statements, it means you are kind of seeking validation and you're seeking reassurance for what you did. So, what's the impact of all of this? What is the impact of these traits on your own personality? What is the impact of self deprecatory statements on your mental health? First and foremost, self esteem. All these articles talked about how these statements affect one's self esteem. You tend to think that you are not worth it, that you did not deserve that shout out, you did not deserve that comment, you did not deserve that appreciation. So your self-worth starts to diminish. You would not notice it because that's just become your habit. Oh yes, it's not a big deal. But in the background, your self-worth and your self-esteem is taking a hit. The other three impacts that were found: confidence, anxiety, and optimism. These studies proved that usage of self-deprecatory statements affects your confidence, increases anxiety, and makes you less optimistic. Now we went through the impact, we went through the science. Now I'm someone who always wants solutions, or someone who's always thinking, okay, this is the problem, what are we going to do about it? So, of tips from professionals, and I am happy to share it with you. And guess what? When I started writing down this list, because I work from home, I also started to use these tips. And guess what? I actually did notice a lot of difference. I know it sounds super cringy when someone is giving you a compliment and you're saying, oh yeah, thank you. And there's a way of saying accepting their compliment, but also not trying to sound like a jerk. And finding that balance is really important. But once you find it, it's an amazing feeling. So here are some tips to deal with self-deprecation. First and foremost, accept your compliments. Letting yourself get used to applause. Allow yourself some flattery. Allow yourself to take in that compliment. And it is necessary to break this cycle of constantly putting yourself down. I know, maybe you have a resting bitch face, or maybe you come off as someone who's always super serious. And imagine when someone's giving you a compliment and you say, oh yes, thank you very much. As someone who is better than everyone, like you don't have, your reply shouldn't sound like you're in your head. Oh yes, thank you very much. I know I'm good at it. No, that's not the point. We want to be humble, but at the same time, we also don't want to downplay ourselves. So get out of that mediocrity. If I were to come up to you for a suggestion, but you always come off as someone who isn't confident about their own work, why would I listen to you? Why would I trust all the important suggestions that you have to give? Mediocre personality. Get out of it. Own up to it. If you are an expert in a certain field, then yes, you are. You have worked hard. Out of everybody, you could achieve that job. You could finish that project. You could do something that someone else couldn't do. So don't downplay it. Show yourself a little kindness and put yourself first once in a while. Connect and accept. And be confident about your accomplishments. Now, after I started reading through these articles and I got a better understanding of how to deal with whenever I have a self-deprecatory thought in my mind, I no longer downplay it. So if someone compliments my book, I say, oh yes, I spent a lot of time researching. Oh, and I say, oh, thank you. I have always wanted to publish a book and I did it. So choose self-assurance and be confident. Don't worry, you are not going to sound cocky. Instead, you will sound like someone who knows what their worth is and who knows their shit. I hope all of these tips have been immensely helpful. And you know what? Remember, always remember, you are not alone in this journey. We are here to support each other and grow together. As we wrap up this episode, I encourage each one of you to go back and reflect on the insights that we discussed today. And try to challenge those self-deprecating thoughts next time. And think about how can you thank and own up to that compliment. So next time, don't downplay it. Just say thank you very much. I've worked quite a bit on it. And see the change, see the difference. Always remember, you are worthy, you are capable, and you are on a journey of continuous growth. Thank you for joining me on the Itch and Scratch show. If you find this episode valuable, please share it with someone who might benefit. And don't forget to subscribe for more empowering content. If you want to ask us a question on a future episode, click on the link in the show notes to record your question in a voicemail. Until next time, keep growing, keep glowing, and love yourself. Cheers!